Welcome to another edition of 12.5 Minutes. My name is Jared Kelly, and I'm with my friend and co-host, Liz Whitehead.
Hi, Jared.
This is another great episode of 12.5 Minutes, and we have great topics for our audience today. And I want to jump right into it because you have the very first topic, which is what's going on with this crazy world.
So, the crazy thing I saw today is that there's a proposal. I don't think it's finalized yet, but tariffs on pasta could go make the prices go up 107%. And it's Italian pastas that would be imported. And, you can look up the various things about it. But I was thinking right now, when prices are so high and pasta is so cheap, that this would be one thing, and people are experiencing food insecurity, that this would just be yet another thing that is crazy going on with our economy.
Absolutely. That's absolutely crazy. And we're fortunate, I guess, in one way to hear that the government shutdown is ending. But at the other side, the reason why we kind of went into the shutdown was about protecting our healthcare costs. And then basically what you're describing to me, which is also super scary to me, is when you think about the stress that we are all under. Our whole nation needs therapy, but when it comes down to the stress of food insecurity, the stress of higher prices, the stress of higher healthcare costs, and then the thing that people rely on when they're stressed is comfort food, and they also rely on cheap food when the healthier food gets more expensive, right? So what you're describing is feeding, literally feeding into the problem that we are having, and that's scary to me. That's super
Right.
scary to me.
It is super scary. Another somewhat scary thing to Italians is that one of the news articles I saw was like, well, you can use other American alternatives like egg noodles. I was like, some Italian chef just
Yeah,
threw his pasta.
yeah.
The thought of using egg noodles.
He
Um,
definitely had a bad day right there.
yeah. So that was hilarious. But overall, it is really scary, and scary when we're willing to compromise on things like feeding people and healthcare.
Right.
Um, Another scary thing I saw, one person who had great healthcare back in the day was Noah, um,
Noah, like Noah, biblical Noah.
of the Ark. Yes. He lived to be 950 years old. So that's not particularly scary. But I saw something recently about, which was put on by NBC News, the Today Show, where they were like, we have evidence of finding Noah's Ark, which, right, interesting, in
Really?
Turkey, which is where the Bible said it landed. And I was like, okay, like interesting. There's this big thing. It does look like a boat, looks like an ark. And at one point, the journalist, I thought the journalist was going to be like, yeah, this is what, he's talking about American Christians. And he's very clear to say American Christians are going to the spot and doing the research. A guy named Andrew Jones. I don't believe it's Dr. Andrew Jones.
Okay.
Um, so he's not Indiana, but
Mhm.
he, is researching this. And at one point, the journalist says, "Of course, it's going to be disputed. Like there are other explanations. Some geologists have other explanations." And then he goes right back to, like, this is the Bible. I was like, "Oh, we're not going to hear the other explanations. We're not going to give airtime." And I thought it was kind of scary that in a mainstream news source, we're just kind of really going with this, and they're in Turkey, going with this American Christian explanation of this geological anomaly. So I found that a little bit troubling to see it on the Today Show.
Yeah. Well, in some ways, excuse me, in some ways, we might, excuse me just a second.
Nice mug.
Yeah, thanks. In some ways, I think we might be recognizing, and this might be a comedian's point of view, but I do think, free travel for the journalist, and then you get, to get outside and see this great big rock that looks like it might be something, right? So could have been a slow news day. Also, you know, I think without knowing all the details, you're absolutely right. There should be balance in the journalism. There should be some thought process that maybe they're really just selling travel, right? And when it
Oh.
comes down to it, here's another destination that you can come visit. And whether you believe it or not, whether you know it to be true or not, controversy sells. And just like with TikTok, TikTok brings people all around the world to come see something that got hyped up. So I think at the very least, NBC might have fallen into the TikTok version of news.
Oh, that I didn't even think of that. But one person he does interview is a travel agency director. So
Mhm.
no actual geologists or scientists, but they did interview a travel director. So okay, then maybe that makes it a little less scary. It's just standard average American commerce.
Yes, yes, commerce and technology. So, that's what we're living in right now, right? So, but
Well, then that's kind of genius.
and
Yeah,
and it could fall into the category of genius, but I'm sure there's something much more intellectual that we can dive into than than that.
Yeah. Well, one thing is, I mean, so we talk a lot about AI because it's both genius and scary.
Sure.
But one thing I saw was Gamma AI, which I don't know if you've used it. It's a presentation software that uses AI to make PowerPoint presentations, essentially. It's very focused on that. I've used it a lot and I'm pretty happy with it. And so are investors. Their investors are betting on Gamma AI to the tune of $68 million. They didn't win, they earned a $68 million round. And what I thought was most interesting about that was that they're so efficient, they're using AI so efficiently that the $12 million they had from their first round is still there. Like they haven't even spent that. They're saving it so they can invest strategically. So I thought that was a really interesting bet that investors are making on Gamma.
That is, and I think it's a bet, kind of like how AI is going right now, where we're looking for ways to profit off of AI, and that's generally the problem that they say internationally. The U.S. is more profit driven in terms of our investments in AI, but I also think that the bet, slightly different note, the bet on the New York Giants, Jameis Winston coming into the quarterback role is actually much more entertaining because he is such a renowned quarterback that he is great when he comes on the field and he provides energy, great quotes, he's motivational, and he is great at throwing the ball to the other team. So betting on the defense actually getting interceptions, which to me is pretty genius.
That is fairly genius. I saw clips of him when he was mic'd up playing in the snow, and it was just so charming. I mean, I'm not, not a fan of that team, but I do like to watch him play, and it doesn't bother me when he gives it to the other team.
All right, it's like gifts, like if you're a royalty or something like that.
Yeah, well, that's the other thing that got me super fired up. Well, it wasn't so much fired up. I had to laugh at it. There was an AP News article, a genuine news article. Again, maybe it's journalism that has me worked up. That Andrew Mountbatten Windsor has gained a hyphen. It was a whole article about how this person, who is a known essayer, which is why he was stripped of his title, is getting a hyphen in his name. Why is his name still in our mouths?
Well, there's a lot of ways I can go with that, but I think the biggest thing there is that let's just wash our hands of his name. But let me tell you this: one name that I do want to put my hands together for, which is not washing my hands of, is clapping for Eddie Murphy. They have a great documentary about him on Netflix, so check that out if you are still in the economic class of being able to afford Netflix.
Yes, if you're royalty.
Yeah, the way the prices are going sometimes. But I would say this: um, he does a very comical impression of Bill Cosby with with a puppet, and I'm just gonna leave it at that. I'm not even gonna tell you everything about it, but you got to watch the show. It was fantastic to me. I actually enjoyed it for the end of my day, and I thought that was hilarious. So that's
I
it.
you gotta respect Eddie Murphy. I mean, he's been in the game a long time
He
and he
has.
still looks great.
How about that? Great healthcare, apparently. So that's it for us for another episode of 12.5 Minutes. My name is Jared Kelly. This is Liz Whitehead, and we are out of here.
Bye.